It's time to learn about recursive sequences. That was my dramatic voice. Alright guys, recursive sequences are not that big a deal. Recursive is just a fancy math term for saying that when we want to figure out the next term of the sequence, we're going to have to use the previous ones in our equation. So check it out. Maybe I have something that says the very first term of the sequence will be 6. So we'll say a1 equals 6. But I'm also going to have an equation for the general term, and that equation is going to incorporate the previous term. So an equals twice an minus 1 plus 1. If we're going to use this information to figure out a2, then we're just going to plug in 2 for n. And what we're going to get is a2 is twice a1 plus 1. We know that a1 is 6, so plug that puppy in, and we're talking about 2 times 6 plus 1, and that's just 13. Now we know a2, guys, and we can use a2 to figure out a3. a3 is just going to be twice the previous term plus 1. So twice 13 plus 1, and that's 27. Same deal for a4. It's going to be twice the previous term plus 1, which in this case works out to be 55. So that's a simple example of recursion, and let me give you one more. There's a famous sequence named after a famous old dead dude called Fibonacci, and here's how the sequence works. It doesn't just use the previous term, it uses the previous two terms. So we're going to say a1 is 1, a2 is also 1, and if you're trying to figure out any higher term, you're going to use this recursive sequence right here, the one that says we take the previous two terms and add them together. So if we're trying to figure out a3, then we're just going to take a2 plus a1. That's just me plugging in n equals 3 into the recursive formula. Adding together a2 and a1, that's just 1 plus 1, dudes. That's no big deal. It happens to be 2. And last but not least, if we're going to figure out a4, well, that's just going to be the previous two terms added together. So that's a3 plus a2, which is 2 plus 1, which in case you didn't know, dudes, that's just 3. So not so bad, and I've written down a couple extra terms of this sequence for you, and you can see the pattern. Every time we want to make the new term, we just add together the previous two. That's all for recursion, dudes.